So hello and welcome. Our next candidate is Mr. MikeWissman. Mr. Wissman is one of our two candidates for mayor. Mr. Wissman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So let's get started. First of all, if you could, for the people, briefly explain who you are and why you want to run for public office.
Okay. Well, I'm the current mayor, but first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. My wife, Wendy, is a respiratory therapist. She's the dance coach at Arlington Middle School. She choreographs at Arlington High School dance team. I have a son in 8th grade with Arlington Middle. I have a daughter in 1st grade at Donaldson Elementary. And I'm a Memphis firefighter for over 18 years with a background in emergency services. I have a background in business management, degree from the University of Memphis in professional studies. What I would like to, running for office, it's just one of those things that I never planned on doing. I never planned on being in public service, especially on the fire side and in elected office, but it's one of those things I was kind of drawn to because I feel like I'm good at building relationships, solving problems, listening to people. So that desire to it just kind of fell in my lap. Never planned on making a career, and I don't know how much longer it'll go, as far as election time, but I really enjoy just being a part of the community, and I feel like you can give back to your community most when you're involved in it. And so we've been very active and engaged in this community, not just with myself, but as my family.
Okay, all right. So the second question is specifically, what are your qualifications for this office, for the office of mayor?
I don't know if anybody necessarily has to have qualifications to run for any elected office, but it's more attributes, I think. So as being in the office, I'm hoping that people will see just firsthand what's going on in town, the good in town. If you want to get more specific on qualifications, I have a background as a Shelby County School Board member. And for those who don't know, we built a school system from scratch here in Arlington. We're in the 5th or 6th year. That was a tremendous undertaking. And that was something that took round-the-clock effort. So I think the effort is shown there, but we've also, when you focus, as far as qualifications for mayor, it's again, just being able to listen to people, being able to know that staff is basically, the mayor doesn't run the day-to-day operations. You have to let staff, that are sometimes more experts in fields than you are. You have to listen to board members, and you have to listen to community members. So you just have to be willing to know your limitations as a person, and make it a team effort to be a mayor or to be a CEO of anything. Okay. So that's
okay. All right. So next, if you would, please discuss your approach to managing growth here in Arlington.
Growth seems to be the hot issue right now, and so it's one of those things where the joke is when everybody moves in that they're the last one to move in, nothing's going to change. So let's kind of look at some numbers real fast. So back in 2000. Arlington was about 2,500 residents. The 2010 census, we were 11,500 residents. That was about a 348% growth over that 10 years, according to the census. Over the last 9 years, we did a special census at the end of 2018. We have about 13,300 officially on the special census. We project a little more, but that's all we have as far as officially. So that's only about a 15% growth. So when we talk about growth in town, there's two different kinds. There's residential and there's commercial. So you saw the tremendous growth a decade ago of residential. Now the residential growth still is steady and it's good, but you're starting to see the commercial come in. And that's where the challenges are for not just the mayor, but aldermen, staff, everything, trying to keep up with infrastructure, trying to keep up with wants versus needs, trying to make sure that everything's attractive, because we're on everybody's radar. I mean, we're on, when they see a population boom nationally, these marketing firms and these firms that work for corporations, they start wanting to see why. And then they look around, they see we have good schools and good parks and good infrastructure. So they want to be here. And so the people that don't want growth, that say they don't want growth, still usually want something. Everybody wants that other restaurant to go sit down and eat at, or everybody wants a hardware store or a boutique store. So the challenge of growth is what is defined as growth. We have a West Tennessee Veterans Home that's slated to come here. That would provide a couple hundred jobs. We just expanded Wright Medical. That's more jobs. It's more industry, more chances for people to not just live here, but work here, eat here. So it's just trying to manage the growth. We don't have a firm for the town that goes out and encourages people to come here. We focus on the main needs of the town. And then it's just basically we have to embrace what comes. So we have to make it as nice as possible and try to use our zoning and our ordinances to channel it to what we want this town to look like in the future.
Okay. So what role does a mayor play in a successful community?
the mayor, kind of what I touched on earlier, was that you have to be able to listen to those around you. You have to know your limitations. Active and engaged. I know I've said that before, but I mean, any given day, you'll see me coaching a ball team, but you may see me in a suit at a function, and then you may see me out to dinner with my family. But everywhere you go, I hate to say, even in a small town, you have to make yourself accessible and available. And so it's a 24/7, 365 job. I don't complain about it because I signed up for it, but it's one that you have to have a strong support from your family, and you have to be willing to listen and not necessarily challenge people on the difference of opinions, but you have to listen and then maybe not always give people the answer they want, but the answer they need to hear. And as long as it's a respectful discussion, that's where it is. So it's building relationships, it's knowing your limitations, and the key, again, is allowing staff to do their job.
Okay. Our final question is, so what, other than managing growth, is the biggest issue you see facing Arlington in this next term of mayor? Not facing growth?
Aside from the growth. Well, I mean, that's one of those things. It's maintaining the school system. I mean, that is where we saw the boom in the early 2000s was because a high school and an elementary school. So being an attractive community, you have to remain attractive. So you do have to, we just updated our land use plan, our future land use plan, which was a 20-year plan that kind of guides the town. And so we updated that just actually a couple of nights ago. And what that does is it takes what was put in place 10 years ago before maybe some of these roads or infrastructure was built. And we said, you know what, that may have made sense then, but it doesn't make sense now. So we're trying to have the crystal ball to see what makes sense down the road. So we have one of the youngest communities in the state. And so, but we also have an aging population. So when we talk about like parks, you know, we talk about wants versus needs. Some people don't think parks are needs, but I think they are. I think we've expanded, you know, fields, but when we talk about parks, it's more than just a field or tennis courts that we're building, you know, that I'm excited about. It's walking trails, it's community programs, you know, community events to bring the community together. That's where we talk about parks, and that is one of the biggest things that I've always said, that with a young community, but also an aging community, how can we bring them all together? And then, of course, we've addressed public safety already with the expansion of our fire station. So those are the things that we as a town have done, I think, well, and we have to continue to do those well. The growth is going to happen if you're doing your job, and whether we like it or not, it's going to happen. But we have to focus on infrastructure, public safety, parks, and I hate to say parks and amenities, but parks and opportunities for our residents, and the rest will happen on its own naturally.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Good luck in the election.
Thank you.
Want to remind everyone that early voting starts on August the 30th, and the election day is September 19th. Thank you.